Well, it is starting to look a little bit like summer, and it's starting to feel slightly more like spring, and it should warm up even more the next couple of days as we bring you Cubs baseball on WGN Sports. The Cubs welcome in the Southsiders, and we welcome Cub fans from all over the country watching on WGN America, America's home for baseball. Great to have you with us. Jim DeShays and Len Casper with you. The Cubs rotation got a boost over the weekend. Jake Arrieta coming off the disabled list. And you can look at this group collectively and feel pretty decent about it.
Yeah, starting pitching has been one of the bright spots for the Cubs so far this year. Of late, they've posted very good numbers. We take a look at the last 4 ball games. Samardzija last night was outstanding. Hamill battled through 6 tough innings at his start. Arrieta very, very good. And Travis Wood with a big bounce-back start. So collectively, that forced them posting a 1.65 ERA at the last turn through the rotation, and now it's Edwin Jackson's turn.
Yeah, he'll face one of his former clubs tonight. The one thing he's done really well is keep the ball in the ballpark this year.
Yeah, he's allowed just 1 home run. That came last time out against the Cincinnati Reds. He hasn't faced his former club, the Sox, since 2009. Here are the numbers from that start at Cincinnati: 5 2/3, 5 hits, 4 runs, a couple of walks, struck out 3.
How many guys have you seen a month in already with 3 different teams?
Yeah, Hector Noesi would be the answer to that trivia question. Well-traveled. He has struggled as a starting pitcher in his career. As a matter of fact, 0-10 in his last 14 starts dating back to May of 2012.
And those 3 teams, Seattle, Texas, and now the White Sox. So coming up, the Cubs try to earn a split in this portion of this 4-game week against the White Sox. We'll have the Southsiders and the Northsiders coming up next. Chicago Cubs baseball brought to you by Budweiser. Great times are waiting. Grab some buds. Ford, manufacturers of America's best-selling brand. Check out our best-selling lineup at your local Ford store or online at localfordstores.com. And by Xfinity, your home for the most live sports. Cubs baseball in beautiful high definition on WGN TV is brought to you by Xfinity, your home for the most live sports.
Today's game is available in Spanish on your SAP audio setting, provided by WRTO La Tremenda, Chicago's Spanish language sports leader.
Last home game before Mother's Day, so Cubs Charities teaming up with Advocate Healthcare to pink out the Budweiser bleachers, promoting breast cancer awareness, celebrating moms and women everywhere who are cancer survivors. So fans have been encouraged to wear pink. You see the T-shirts handed out. And also the 7th inning stretch today will feature breast cancer survivors. There's the Crosstown Cup. The Cubs swept the Sox last year, but the Southsiders winning in 12 innings to kick off the season series this year last night. De Aza, Beckham, and Abreu. Look at what Jose Abreu has done. He has slugged mightily. Guyan Viciedo is in left. Adam Dunn, a late scratch with a bruised calf. So Viciedo goes from right to left. Ramirez at short. Moises Sierra gets the nod in right. Flowers, a catcher. Semi in the third baseman. And Noesi, the pitcher.
Cubs defensively set up this way this evening. Chris Coughlin gets a start in left field. Junior Lake in center. Nate Shearholtz in right. First to third. We're going to go backwards tonight, Len. We're going to shake it up. Rizzo Bonifacio on the right side. Castro Valbuena on the left side. Castillo behind the plate, and Edwin Jackson on the hill. Who says I can't think outside the box? 2-2, 5.24 ERA for Edwin through 6 starts. 34 1/3. He's allowed 37 hits. Only one long one. 17 walks, a little too high, 26 punch-outs. What else we got? We got a whip that needs to come down a little bit. Hornets OPS. I'd like to whittle away at that a little bit. Ground ball with the two-seam fastball. And you see his averages in terms of strikeout and walk rates. A little below average in terms of his strikeout rate and a little too high on the walk side.
Set the umps for you. Paul Emmel works the plate. Tom Woodring at first. Marvin Hudson was off last night, but working tonight alongside Jerry Meals over at third.
Hope I didn't cross you up by going to the right side of the infield first.
No, I think it's good to every once in a while mix things up. De Aza takes a strike on a fastball at 90.
Well, and that would apply to Edwin Jackson. Primarily fastball slider pitcher. At his best when he implements his curveball a little bit. He's been using it more this year. Just to have that extra weapon as you work your way through the lineup the second and third time. And we've seen him use that this little get over curveball, oftentimes first pitch to get the jump on the hitters.
De Aza strikes out. Castillo will throw to Rizzo to complete the play. Well, that lake can really cool things off. We're so close to it. It's only 46 degrees, but it's not nearly as biting as it was last night because of the wind. It's not blowing as hard.
See how we hold up as the sun goes down.
Gordon Beckham 1 out of 6 in the opener.
I got to figure out on my app, the weather apps on my phone. I'm not sure exactly what part of town they're getting their readings from. It'll be a little misleading.
Beckham with a solid single into left. Well, there was not much offense last night.
That was like a soccer match. Very difficult for anybody to generate any offense at all, given the conditions and the quality of the starting pitching.
Teams combined to go 10 for 77.
That guy was outstanding.
Toughest no decisions you'll get. He didn't even get a complete game, even though he went 9. But those are the breaks. He's had a lot of bad ones here in his first 7 starts. Slider catches the outside. It looks like here early on. Paul Emmel wants to call strikes. Ray leading the majors. 12 home runs, 21 extra base hits.
He drove in the first run of the game last night in the top half of the first with a fly ball to right field, a sac fly. And Jeff made very few mistakes. I think that's one pitch he'd like to have back. Probably a little too aggressive with that fastball to Abreu in that situation. Second in all of baseball now in earned run average.
Get out of play off of first.
Well, it's a lineup that sets up pretty well for Edwin Jackson. Only one left-handed bat in the lineup for the Sox tonight, with the late scratch of Adam Dunn, and that's the leadoff man De Aza. And left-handed hitters hitting .339 against Edwin this year. Righties .243. So all but one will swing from the right side tonight.
Beckham nailed by Jackson, and will Robin Ventura come out to have a conversation?
Not much of an argument from Darryl Boston, the first base coach, nor from Beckham, so I'm guessing he was out. It looks like he just got stuck in the mud, couldn't make his way back to the base. Got him.
So 2 down, 2 strikes on Abreu. And a ground ball to the shortstop, Starlin Castro. And just like that, the White Sox done in the opening inning. The Cubs are coming to bat. And the 2014 Mazda 3 with seamless connectivity. Bonifacio, Valbuena, and Rizzo at the top. Starlin Castro has hit .324 since moving to the cleanup spot. Wellington Castile will hit ahead of Nate Scherholtz, who has struggled. Junior Lake gets the nod in center. First start as a Cub for Chris Coghlan, and the pitcher is Jackson.
White Sox defensively, Viciedo in left field, De Aza center, Moises Sierra, late addition to the lineup, your right fielder. Semyon Ramirez, Beckham, Abreu on the infield, Tyler Flowers behind the plate for Hector Noese. He's 0-2, has an ERA up over 11 there. He's made one start, 6 appearances out of the pen, and as Len mentioned, this is his 3rd team already this year. 4-17 lifetime with a .585.
He's not won over his last 14 starts, 10 losses and 4 no decisions as he starts switch hitting Bonifacio with a fastball low.
Fastball, slider, change, and curveball.
.92 and a strike. It's 1-1.
At ERA, big chunk of it due to a 1-inning performance, ironically enough, against the White Sox while pitching for the Rangers. He allowed 7 runs in 1 inning of work.
Popped him up over on the left side, and it'll be the shortstop Ramirez in the grass to make the catch for the out. The White Sox rotation, they've had some problems. Chris Sale, their ace, is on the disabled list. So is Felipe Paulino. They also had Eric Johnson, who struggled and was sent to the minors. So Noesi getting an opportunity. Ready to work against Luis Valbuena. A sinker for a strike.
93 with pretty good sinking action. It's a decent starting point.
Oh, 2.
After 27 years of age, 6'3", 205.
Bounced way out in front of home plate. A nice tweet. Walt Rosenfeld watching us on WGN America in Austin, Texas tonight.
Walt. Probably a tad bit warmer down there in the hill country than it is here.
The wind and the 1-2. It's low. You can send us an email, LennonJD@Tribune.com. I suppose you could do Western Express or Pony Express or Western Union. I mean, yeah, however you want to do it. Facebook, Twitter, that's probably the quickest way.
Smoke signals.
Yeah. Swing and a miss. Changed him up. Strike 3. And it will bring up Anthony Rizzo. A lot of talk about the rookie sensation Jose Abreu. It's interesting to note he had all that time in Cuba. Anthony Rizzo is actually younger than Abreu. And both guys putting together great starts. Weighted on base average is kind of that one statistic when you look at a player's overall offensive contribution. Not all hits are equal. Not all stats are equal. So on base percentage is weighted a little bit more heavily than slugging. And both guys rating very highly.
So it's like taking on base plus slugging and tweaking it, getting a little more refined when you look at that weighted on base. And, you know, if you want to compare the two and make an argument for Abreu, you look at the home runs and the RBIs, the counting statistics. But, you know, a little deeper look, Jose's had 22 more at-bats with runners on base than has Anthony. So, you know, RBI is kind of can be a misleading statistic. And not to diminish what this kid has done. He's off to a great start.
So bounces one to the shortstop Ramirez over on the other side of second, and Noesi with a quick 1-2-3 first, scoreless after 1. WGN Cubs, and we may use them in our WGN Cubs fan cam. And a great response so far this season. Jackson back to work.
Well, there's that first pitch curveball. Didn't find the strike zone, but a good try. Be a good pitch for him.
The 1-0 to Viciedo, and he swings over the top of a slider. In the dirt.
The thing about this White Sox lineup, it's very deep. It's scoring a lot of runs, not so much of late. Through the month of April, not just Abreu. Viciedo, Adam Dunn off to a really good start. Alexei Ramirez swinging it well. Tyler Flowers. It could have been. Might have been a little high, but it could have been a strike.
White Sox starting the night 5 back in the AL Central. They're a game under 500. High in the air out into right center. Late tracking, but it'll be taken by Sherholtz, the right fielder.
Cub fans, if you want to manage the game along with Ricky Renteria, log on to WGNTV.com right now and click on the WGN Sports Game Zone banner to connect to all the up-to-the-minute stats and information while you're watching from home. Game Zone is sponsored by the Great Escape Tools, patio sets, play sets, hot tubs, and more.
Now Alexei Ramirez off to a terrific start. Got his 1,000th career hit last night, but scoring the game-winning run in the 12th. 43 hits, second most in the American League. Swung out and missed. And it's 0-2. And he got him. Second strikeout for Jackson. And if you missed it, about a half hour ago, about 15 minutes before the first pitch, very classy gesture by the Cubs organization for one of the classiest players around. Paul Konerko, the White Sox captain, getting the number 14 out of the scoreboard there, and Jeff Samardzija handing it to him. This is Paulie's final game as a player here at Wrigley Field. Not in the lineup again tonight. He did pinch hit in extras last night, and you see what he's done here in this ballpark. What a career.
434 long ones.
0-2 on Sierra, getting his first start with the White Sox. Over on waivers from the Blue Jays.
Konerko, now 38 years of age, decided to shut it down. You know, he's just a couple of years away. I mean, he put up good numbers last year, but in 2012 hit 298. The year before had a 905 OPS.
And I think it's interesting to know, Abreu and Rizzo might be here for a long time, but they fill some big shoes when you think about Derek Lee and Paul Konerko. They're White Sox fans who hate the Cubs and some Cub fans who hate the White Sox, but I always got the impression during that era that the other team's fans had a ton of respect for the other team's first baseman. They both just got it. They understood how to handle the media, the fans here.
Great teammates.
Yeah. We were spoiled for sure. One-two pitch inside, almost hit him. And it's 2-2. Broken bat flare for a base hit.
Didn't exactly tear the cover off of it, but he'll take it. White Sox claimed him on waivers. He had been designated for assignment by the Blue Jays. He was just 2 for 34 with the Jays. This ball moving in on him. It's down around the label, cracks the bat, but it dies a hero. He's got himself a 2-out knock.
Flowers reached on a walk last night, scored a run, and went 0 for 4 in the scorebook. I love Darryl Boston. He's got 2 city names on his jersey. Chicago on the front. Foul territory. Rizzo near the tarp. He just doesn't have room as the slight breeze nudged it to about the third row.
Breeze, a little slice spin.
There's Clark. At the hang with Clark today.
Yeah.
Cubs Care and Cubs Charities Luncheon. 39 nonprofits recognized as the Cubs and the Robert R. McCormick Foundation announced more than $1.1 million in grants. Wonderful event.
What's Clark had? Did he have honey for lunch?
You know, I didn't ask him.
Maybe some salmon.
Looks like he eats well, I can tell you that. On ball to Bonifacio. Jackson has given up a couple of hits, but no runs through 2. Cubs will bat in the second. 0-0. To Double-A.
Welcome back. We're scoreless as the Cubs come to bat here in the bottom of the second. Cubs injury report is sponsored by Illinois Bone and Joint Institute. There you see the walking wounded for the Cubs. Fujikawa on the 60-day DL. James McDonald's got that right shoulder issue. Luciano and Sweeney with hamstrings. Veras with an oblique out on a rehab assignment. He pitched today. Illinois Bone and Joint Institute helping you move better so you could live better. There's a foul ball. Visit ibji.com.
And Arodys Vizcaíno is not injured, but he was promoted to Double-A Tennessee. One strike on Starlin Castro. It's low and outside.
And Vizcaíno ultimately gets to the big leagues if he stays healthy. Another big arm to join that bullpen and bring him along slowly. Tough night for Castro last night, 0 for 5. He was after an 0 for 4 on Sunday evening.
On the ground toward left and through, and the Cubs have their first hit. Astros snaps an 0 for 10 with that leadoff single. Just take Tulowitzki off the list. He's in another stratosphere right now.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, obviously he's in that great hitter's environment up there in Denver, but what he's doing so far is just otherworldly.
That's at home. Hitting .596. 11 for 13. Runners in scoring position. That is at home.
Yeah, overall for the year though, batting over 400.
Who got him out? What I want to know. Two guys who got him out are on the All-Star team. The 1-0 pitch to Castillo, home run cut, and he came up empty. A little schedule housekeeping. The rainout we had in Cincinnati last week. That will be made up on July 8th, day-night doubleheader in Cincinnati. One.
Good life on that heater.
Now 1-2.
Flamingos in the outfield.
That's pretty cool. Fans in the Budweiser bleachers getting the Save Second Base t-shirt.
Pink out.
And they were distributed by Cubs players and coaches' wives before the game. Nicely done.
It makes you want to eat cotton candy.
Called strike 3.
Wellington was thinking maybe slider here. He never got it started on that knee-high fastball. Good pitch by Noese.
And I mentioned this is the last home game before Mother's Day. It's coming up, so just a reminder. You've got a few days. Make sure you get Mom something nice. Slide step and the pitch is over but low on Sherholtz. 1 ball, no strikes. Wade Miley and Madison Bumgarner, the only two pitchers to retire Troy Tulowitzki with runners in scoring position in Denver. So I'd put him in the All-Star.
Yeah, why not? It helps their candidacy. What have you done so far? Well, you got a 4.5 ERA. You're 7-9. Oh, but you got Tulowitzki out. All right. When I say here, he's been in the minor leagues a lot more than in the big leagues in his career. Most extended stretch he had was in 2012 with Seattle.
Ooh, that ball really got away from Flowers. And Castro advances on a wild pitch. It was good to hear official score Bob Rosenberg. Wild pitch.
Yeah, a little scud out in front of home plate. Flowers not able to slide over quickly enough to keep it in front. Scoring opportunity for the Cubs here. But in 2012, he made 18 starts, 4 relief appearances, was 2-12 that year with a 5.82 ERA.
The 2-0 is lifted in the air out into center. De Aza getting behind the ball, and he's going to hold Castro. Get your tickets to the party of the century. During the next homestand, the Cubs will celebrate with music, food, and fun giveaways reminiscent of the 1930s. For more info about the 30s celebration, including facts and photos of Wrigley's history, go to WrigleyField100.com. The Brewers and Yanks will be in for a 5-gamer starting Friday, May 16th. Get your tickets today at Cubs.com. Junior Lake. He's playing center tonight.
You got a sense of what the wind is doing here, the way De Aza reacted to that fly ball off the bat of Nate Sherwolds. Took a few steps back and then had to come sprinting in. Get on top. Hit it on a line. That'll be the strategy for the hitters here tonight.
One way to stay warm. Two balls and a strike.
Clayton Kershaw made his return to a big league mound tonight. 5 shutout. Punched out 6. Dodgers lead the Nats 1-0.
2-1 to Lake. Cut on and missed.
Well, you know, I've mentioned this in the past, in recent days with Junior. You know, just lots of swings and misses. There's a world of potential there. But he's got to cut down on that strikeout rate. He's got to be willing to shorten the stroke, especially with 2 strikes. He has struck out in over 40% of his plate appearances, which is about double major league average. Not far behind him is Mike Holt. So, you know, 2 young guys feeling their way, trying to figure it out.
Runner at second, 2 outs early on. And we'll do it again. In the bottom of the first inning up in Milwaukee, and the Brewers have put 5 on the board. 5-2. Josh Colmenter getting knocked around. That's after Marco Estrada gave up 2 in the top of the first. Two teams going in opposite directions right now. Noesi again on the 2-2, and a 1-hopper hit to Semien. Not a good throw, but Abreu picks the short hop toss, and the inning is over after 2. 0-0.
One of those days where it was literally felt like I was in the backyard playing catch. Because I'm a 20-year-old kid, you're like, man, this was easy. I'm going to do this again next week. I'm going to do it again in 4 days. And really, you think that.
Here comes the hook. Got him! 20 strikeouts! He ties the Major League record!
Now looking back on it, Gracie quoted it and said it the best. Either I was too young and dumb to know any better, and there's something to be said about that.
That's your Southwest Airlines Wrigley 100 moment. May 6th of 1998, the Kerry Wood 20 strikeout performance, brought to you by Southwest Airlines. Find our fares online only at southwest.com. Extra innings hero for the White Sox last night, Marcus Semien, and he pops one up. Bonifacio on the infield will make the catch. A game-winning double. And Semien in the 12th. Won it for the visitors. Here's a pitcher, Noesi, in his career, 2 for 4.
Hey. Hector trying to let it eat.
Takes all the way. 0-2. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. There he is, Gary Pressey, everybody. Playing the Wrigley Field organ tonight for the 2,200th consecutive game. I wish just once I could play the piano like that.
Yeah.
Well, the 7th inning stretch. He's the guy. Floated into right. Sherholtz will make the catch to get DeAza. Yeah, some of the singers get the song and the notes wrong, but Gary never does. Ballpark, elected to the Hall of Fame on January 8th, and it will be officially inducted in Cooperstown on July 27th, along with Greg Maddux, Tom Glavine, Tony La Russa, Bobby Cox, Joe Torre. And if there's any doubt, Frank Thomas is the greatest offensive performer in the history of the Chicago White Sox. Chris Coughlin will lead off for the Cubs here in the home half of the third. Frank has the all-time White Sox lead in home runs, RBIs, runs, walks, doubles, extra base hits, on base percentage, slugging, OPS, total bases. Other than that, he was just mediocre. Hit almost 4,000 total bases with the White Sox. What a career.
Yeah. Menacing hitter. Talked earlier about Rizzo and Abreu. Their approaches at the plate, and the thing that made Frank so tough, he was so dangerous, but he'd take his walks.
Big hurt. Jackson takes a strike. Thomas at 301 in his career. You're right, on base 419. He slugged 555. And always loved this note. He was born on the same day Jeff Bagwell.
Yeah, very similar players. Look at their careers. Bagwell not in the Hall, but I'm guessing eventually we'll make it.
Frank got almost 84% of the votes. That'll be handled by Viciedo for the out. Cub fans, make sure you check out Len and JD's baseball blog at WGNTV.com. Sponsored by Jeff Vukovich, your nationwide insurance agent. Serving the area for 36 years. To join the nation, contact Jeff at jeffvuk.com. Nationwide is on your side. 16th anniversary of the Kerry Wood 20 strikeout game. We have an oral history from those who were there, including Jim DeShays.
The highest game score ever recorded in a 9-inning game. Bill James, the guru of sabermetrics, created this formula where he measured a starting pitcher's performance and Carey's game, the greatest single game score ever for a 9-inning game. 20 strikeouts, no walks, 1 hit. I'll give you the formula if you're interested.
I would love it.
Start with 50, add 1 point for each out recorded.
Okay.
Add 2 points for every inning completed after the 4th. Add 1 point for each strikeout. Subtract 2 for a hit. Subtract 4 for an earned run. Subtract 2 for an unearned run. And subtract 1 point for each walk. Mix liberally.
Right.
Sprinkle in. It's like a recipe, doesn't it? So even higher than the Matt Cain, say, perfect game a couple years ago.
So if you're watching tonight and you were there, when it comes to sports arguments and discussions, people like to embellish. But you could claim,
right,
I saw the greatest pitching performance in the history of Major League Baseball, and you would have some statistical evidence on your side.
Eyewitness to greatness, Len. That's kind of always been my tagline. I've seen a lot of great performances over the years, both in the dugout and up in the broadcast booth. But Mike Scott, the year he won the Cy Young, he struck out 300. He had a lot of high strikeout games, but just the way Kerry Wood dominated a really good hitting lineup. And some of the swings and misses were just laughable.
Fascio kind of stumbled out of the batter's box. Wouldn't have mattered. He would have been out anyway, but he's just out by a little bit more, I guess. Still 0-0 after 3.
Cigarette parties, individual and group tickets are available for all games. For more details, go to WrigleyvilleRooftops.com or call 773-248-ROOF.
Gordon Beckham looks at a strike. Quick strike call by Paul Immel.
I'm guessing Paul is left-handed. When he makes that strike call with his right hand, it looks a little funky.
One and one. Beckham started the year on the DL with a strained oblique. Missed the first 22 games. Jackson with a slider that bounced way out in front of home plate. Mitch, it's been a while since Jackson faced the White Sox, so his career numbers don't really matter all that much. How long has it been? Well, 2009, the last time he faced the White Sox. Between then and now, he actually pitched for the Sox.
Yeah, there's only 4 current White Sox that have had at-bats against him. Keppinger's on the DL. Konerko's not in the lineup. This guy Beckham came in 4 out of 10 against him. Alexi Ramirez 0 for 17. He's the one guy who's seen the most of them, and Edwin has owned him.
Beckham's now 2 for 2. First time they put the leadoff man on base. Visit the Cubs Authentics auction page every Sunday night for your chance to own one-of-a-kind game-used Cub items. This week's auction, I think, will be a popular one. It'll feature the snazzy 1929 Cubs throwback unis worn Sunday night against the Cardinals. Go to Cubs.com/authentics and bid on these jerseys and other unique game-used items. Just kind of perusing Twitter the other night. Felt like the vast majority of Cub fans really liked those particular unis, and I agreed.
Yeah, I've almost always liked the throwback unis.
Good note on Twitter. Ryan Cox mentioned that Edwin did face the White Sox last year, but remember,
washed out. Yeah,
got rained out, so it did not count. He was the rain man last year. It just seemed like whenever we did have rain, it happened to interrupt or wash out one of his starts. Swing and a miss. 1-1.
That slider working tonight. A lot of swings and misses with it. Jose Abreu, the first rookie since Ken Herbie with the Twins in 1982 to lead the major leagues in both home runs and RBIs through the month of April. First Sox player to do it since Roy Sievers in 1960.
Beckham to advance. That's about the 4th pitch, if not more, that Jackson has bounced here early on.
Yeah,
well, had blocked all of them, but that one.
Yeah, and he's really good at blocking pitches. But this is a real challenge here. This slider, way out in front of home plate, jumps up and hits him in the mask, and there's nothing a catcher can do about that. You know, some quote-unquote wild pitches for me are more on the catcher. Balls that probably should have been blocked. That one is clearly on Edwin. Talked about Herbeck, and you see the other guys who have led the American League in home runs and RBIs through May 5th. Bobby Darwin, Russ Derry, a whole lot of home runs being hit in 1945. Oh. Not by rookies anyway.
4 in the first month or so. Another one.
A good block there. All right, so and there was a note in the Sox media notes last night about Abreu and talking about his fast start and comparing him to Kevin Moss of the Yankees. Home runs through first number of games or at bats. So there's a little bit of a cautionary tale there, right? Kevin Moss didn't go on to have a great career. He had a hot start. And I'm not saying that there aren't big things in this kid's future, but the league's going to make some adjustments and see how he adjusts to that. If I was a betting man, I would say he's going to have a very nice career.
We'll go foul. Still a shot of Todd Steverson, the White Sox hitting coach. His first year. Three and two. You see Beckham in scoring position for Abreu. He already has 35 knocked in. Lined to Sherholtz. He makes a catch. Beckham on his way to third, and he will make a good throw, but really no shot. Well, we have a second. Let's step aside and see what's coming up on WGN. Game 2 of 4 this week. First 2 here at Wrigley Field, then we'll head to U.S. Cellular Field tomorrow night. Wrap up the season series right here on WGN Thursday evening.
Because of the conditions here, tough run scoring environment, cold night with the wind blowing in, Cubs pull the infield in.
Slider away to Viciedo.
Not like tonight. You don't want to concede any runs.
Castillo.
What's the phrase they use in hockey? Standing on his head, the goaltender.
Blocking pitches left and right.
This is another tough one, way out front of the plate. Lucky to catch that one in the throat.
I think he did. Viciedo signed with the White Sox in 2009. Defected from Cuba the year before. He's in a hitter's count here with the infield in. The 2-0 is a strike call. He didn't think so.
Well, let's check out pitch tracks. Catch the corner. Was it high enough? Yeah. Borderline. Could have gone either way. And try to jam him with a heater here. Get it in there. We got it in there.
Well, Viciedo plunked.
Better to do that than make a mistake out over the plate and let him drive in the run. Now you can pull your infield back and play for 2.
Back forearm near the elbow.
And for good measure, that got a piece of Wellington too. He's just going to be a human bruise by the time this game is over tonight.
Well, teams more often than not get at least one in this particular situation. Jackson would love a ground ball at one of his infielders here. Beckham at third, Viciedo at first, and it's Alexei Ramirez.
Yeah, Ramirez runs pretty well. So nice, something with a little pace. Nice sharp 2-hopper to Castro would work just fine for Edwin Jackson.
Ramirez's nickname, the Cuban Missile.
I think that fits Aroldis Chapman a little better.
Yeah. As hard as he throws.
Extra pressure on Castillo now with that man on third base. Make sure he keeps that ball in front. I'm not sure what the record is for pitches in the dirt, but Edwin's on a pretty good pace here.
Did we not have a record last year that Jackson and Cubs reliever had 4 or 5 wild pitches in 1/2 inning?
Yeah, that sounds familiar. And I know Edwin had what do you have, like 17, 18 wild pitches last year.
He had maybe 4 in an inning last year. Here's his 1-1. There's the ground ball. They get 1, and that'll be it. So Ramirez with a fielder's choice gives the White Sox a 1-0 lead.
Yeah, not the sharp 2 hopper that Edwin was hoping for. He made a good pitch. He got Ramirez to roll over on it. But Castro has to range to his right, and no chance to get Ramirez going down the line. Sox draw first blood.
Sierra singled in the second. Late addition to their lineup after Adam Dunn was scratched with a calf bruise. So played about a game and a half in this series. There's a base hit. There has only been 1 RBI hit so far. That was a game-winning double by Semien in extras. We had 2 sac flies, bases loaded walk, and tonight a fielder's choice plating a run.
Yeah, not a lot of sharp contact for either club in the ball game last night. There hasn't been a whole lot so far here tonight. That ball really well struck by Sierra.
So 2 on, 2 down, a run in. Jackson gets a sign from his catcher, and here's a pitch. Low away.
Flowers, the catcher for the White Sox, and I'm sure when he struck the home plate, he said to Wellington, "Hey man, hang in there." Here's our speed replay brought to you by Xfinity. The beating that Wellington Castillo is taking here this evening. These balls in the dirt, and this is all just in this inning. So you want to be a big league catcher? Xfinity, your home for the most live sports.
1-1. It's really slowing down here in the 4th inning for Jackson. Here's a pitch. It's high. Throw to first. Out. Second pickoff of the night. Jackson got Beckham in the 1st inning. And Sierra nailed by Castillo. 1-0 White Sox.
Of Staff Sergeant Lalouse, along with all of our servicemen and women, for their selfless dedication, courage, and sacrifice in protecting our freedom and defending this great country.
Great to see Staff Sergeant Adam Lalouse here at the ballpark tonight. And how about a capper to the inning by Castillo as he got Sierra.
Wow, yeah, just bad base running there. Man on second base, can't afford to get picked off there, and then they go in standing somewhat tentatively. Design play as Rizzo breaks as the pitch is being delivered. Castillo delivers a throw.
1-1 on Valbuena.
Interesting that Robin Ventura didn't at least start out there and let his people review that play. But again, the body language of the base runner and the first base coach, Darryl Boston, as we saw earlier, with the pickoff, it looked like, yeah, they got me.
Ball and 2 strikes. Give a shout out to Karen Bell, West Bend, Wisconsin diehard Cub fan watching on WGN America tonight. Lofted to center. De Aza, easy play. 1 away.
Cubs baseball is brought to you by Budweiser, the official beer of Major League Baseball. Great times are waiting. Grab some buds.
Chicago, your open arms, your simple charms, your people, I found no other place.
Rizzo grounded out on the right side, but it was a shortstop Ramirez who made the play. Low, 1-1. will get out of play. Did you see Mariano Rivera's comments about Robinson Cano in this book that was released today?
It's on a link. You can read the story. Something about preferring Pedroia to Cano.
Yeah. That'll work. Opposite field roller into left for Rizzo. Big turnaround first. He'll hold.
I got a base hit in that direction, not down the line, but to the left side of the infield in the game last night. It's going to be interesting to see if teams start to make an adjustment and shift less often against them. You see the turnaround for Anthony in terms of the batting average, especially the batting average against left-handed pitching. OPS up there among the best in baseball at 920 now.
Yeah, the quote in the book, The Closer, talking about Cano. This is Mariano Rivera. This guy has so much talent, I don't know where to start. No doubt he's a Hall of Fame caliber player. It's just a question of whether he finds the drive you need to get there. I think Robbie Burns to be the best. I don't think Robbie Burns to be the best. You don't see that red hot passion in him that you see in most elite players. If I had to win one game, I'd have a hard time taking anybody over Dustin Pedroia as my second baseman. Now the good news is that will not make headlines in New York.
No.
Shallow right. It's caught by Sierra. Good thing they don't have tabloids.
Yeah, just imagine the headlines. Something about a cut. The first cut is the deepest from Mo to Cano. Say it ain't so, Mo. And so on and so forth.
Here we go. New York Daily News just popped it up. Mariano throws book at Cano in his new memoir.
It's funny, though, you think about some of the great players in the game, and I don't know exactly what he means when he talks about Cano and his lack of passion. There have been plenty of great players who haven't had a burning passion. Just been uber talented.
Right. Rizzo will advance on another wild pitch. Well, I think it's very dangerous. And everybody has a right to, especially teammates, to say what they want. But the external body language can sometimes belie what's really going on inside. That's number one. I have number two here in a second. Number two, you could make the case that some guys who slow the game down and in big moments are really good, that in other moments it hurts them because maybe they don't, quote, hustle all the time. And I've tested that on a few people, and they find that interesting. In other words, some guys, the game moves too fast and they run hard, they do everything hard, but they just can't ever relax in the big moment. But is it possible that for certain guys they slow the game down all the time? It makes them great in most areas, and in a couple cases it doesn't necessarily help.
Right, and some guys just don't sell out. They don't play as hard as they should all the time, but that doesn't mean they're not a great player.
Right, and this game is different from others in terms of trying hard, in air quotes.
You know, sometimes you got to try less. You got to back off, take the foot off the gas a little bit. It's a game where you really don't ride the emotional highs. You try to harness it. You try to stay under control at the most critical times. But I'm guessing there's something going on with Cano. I mean, with this book coming out, and then the stuff this winter after he joined the Mariners, where they talked about his lack of hustle at times. So that's clearly.
And when Rivera says it feels like it carries.
There's probably even more there that that he's not addressing.
Three and two on Castillo. Swung on and missed to get Noesi out of the inning. who, by the way, a former teammate of both Rivera and Cano. Paul David Wilson to break. 1-0 White Sox.
I found no other place. Calling me home.
To you by Budweiser, the official beer of Major League Baseball. Great times are waiting. Grab some buds. Breast cancer survivors will sing the stretch tonight here in the booth. Janice Agner, L.V. Hill, and Lauren Wakefield. For more info about the Pink Out festivities tonight, you can go to Cubs.com/pink.
Milder here at the ballpark tonight than last night. Pretty good crowd on hand. Good pitching duel for the second night in a row. This time through the rotation, the Cubs starters have been really good. Samardzija, Hamill, Arrieta, and Wood posting a 1.65 ERA in their 4 starts. Now Jackson solid here into the 5th.
Trying to put away Flowers, and he does on a high heat.
He trimmed Flowers. Treat your guests to an awesome view of Wrigley Field from the Budweiser Bleacher Suite. The Bleacher Suite features a sports bar atmosphere with new TVs, high top tables, and a one-of-a-kind Wrigley Field experience. The suite can hold up to 100. Includes food, drinks, and parking. For more information, visit Cubs.com/suites or call 773-404-4200.
Semien in the right. Sherholtz makes a play. Comes the pitcher.
Should be an easy 5th. 2 quick outs. Now the pitcher. Wellington Castillo. That big pickoff of Sierra to end the 4th. It proved to be a very big play in this ball game.
He signed with the Yanks a decade ago from the Dominican Republic. 6'3", 205.
He's got an interesting approach at the plate.
Yeah.
He took that first swing like he was trying to hit the ball 700 feet, and then he stood there like he's completely disinterested.
Thought we were going to drop an Ernie Harwell on us like the house by the side of the road and watched it go by.
He's just setting him up. He's going to take a big swing here.
Chopper barehanded by Jackson, and he almost threw it away. A quick 1, 2, 3 for Edwin. Cubs. We may include it in our fan cam segment. Cubs trailing 1-0. Trying to get something going offensively here in this series. Boy, without the double from Jeff Samardzija last night, they might not have a run at all. The only one they got, a sac fly after he doubled. Scherholtz, Lake, and Coghlan due up.
Yeah, if hitting is contagious, how come after a guy gets a hit, there's not 3 more hits?
Are you being logical?
Mm-hmm. Cynical.
One way to look at it. The ball pulled foul.
I've got Super Tramp in my head.
As long as you're not singing "It's Raining Again," I'm good.
Hey, this could be the last of it. Warm weather on the way. Tom Skilling said it was going to heat up.
Oh, wouldn't that be nice?
Go ahead and get those tomatoes in the ground.
So the Cubs knocked around Adam Wainwright over the weekend against the Cardinals. Arguably one of the top 2 or 3 starters, certainly in the National League, if not all of baseball. You've got a guy, Hector Noesi, who has gone 0-10 over his last 14 starts, and the Cubs have 2 hits through 4. What does that mean? Well, it's baseball.
It means you shouldn't bet on baseball because it's very difficult to predict the outcome. We talked about in that Wainwright game, he was coming off a run of 25 consecutive scoreless innings. He was undefeated at Wrigley Field. If you were a betting man, you'd have to think, well, bet on Wainwright and the Cardinals today. Cubs put a pretty good beat down on him. This guy's 0-10 with a 6.04 over his last 14 starts, spread out over a couple of seasons. It's kind of ironic in that, you know, the White Sox picked him up shortly after they lit him up for 7 runs in 1 inning, but clearly they saw something that they liked. Got good enough stuff to be an effective major league pitcher.
And he got him. Swing and a miss for strike 3.
Cubs invite you to take advantage of free remote parking and shuttle services on night and weekend games. The remote parking lot is located at 3900 North Rockwell. For details, visit Cubs.com.
Pitch to Lake, up and out of the zone. Westy has struck out 4. Into center, and it'll drop down in front of De Aza for a hit. 3 knocks, they've all been singles. Castro, Rizzo, and now Lake.
If the Cubs can do anything with that, it's a bit of a mistake breaking ball up in the zone. Backs up on him, and Junior 1 out of 2 now tonight.
Well, last night in Pittsburgh, the Giants beat the Bucks 11-10 in 13 innings. Tonight it's 1-1 in the 9th. Lake takes off, got a pretty good jump, and he's safe. Ramirez trying to claim that he tagged him on the foot as he looks into his dugout, but I don't know if Robin's coming out or not. Lake is in.
Flowers has thrown well this year. He's thrown out 33%. I couldn't tell. Nope. Should get a good look here. He brushes the leg, but was the hand on the base prior to the tag being applied. This is our. Ooh, yeah, that look right there says they probably got him. That's a tough call for an umpire to make when the tag is made back there. You're trying to see everything. You're actually be better off if you're a little further away from the play. You have a little bit better perspective, probably.
Well, I'm really surprised Robin didn't come out, but he didn't. Possibly a break for the Cubs as Flowers blocks that pitch.
Didn't come out on either of the pickoffs at first base either. Both close plays that you think he might want to come out and just buy a little time while they reviewed the video back underneath. Maybe Robin's just old school. Maybe he just doesn't buy into all this replay stuff. Just wants to keep the game moving. His pitcher's pitching a good game. Doesn't want to upset his rhythm. Maybe that's part of the thinking.
Of injury problems since, particularly knee issues. Calf injury cost him nearly 3 months last year, final year with Miami. He's on the roster because Ryan Sweeney went on the DL over the weekend. 2 balls, no strikes. Here's a pitch on the outside corner.
Sign guys like Chris Coughlin for that very reason. Even if he doesn't make the club out of spring training, he provides some depth in the organization. A guy who come up with some big league experience. Fill in. Obviously, he would like to have a bigger role than that. the job of the agent, right? To identify, find a team where you've got a good fit, where you might get a chance to get some at-bats and reestablish yourself.
The pitcher's on deck. So Noesi does not have to give in here with a base open, and he doesn't. It's Don Cooper on the phone. Former Cub Zach Putnam.
Well, bunts in order here with one out. Runners on first and second. One-run ball game. Speed at second base, so if you're the White Sox, you're thinking, well, just make sure you get an out here. If they come really aggressively from the corners, don't be surprised to see Edwin Jackson pull the bat back and take a whack at one.
Well, I want to go back to something you've mentioned recently, though. Well, if you're going to bunt and you get a fastball right down the middle, bunt
it, yeah. Don't take that.
Because once you get to
pitch.
0-1, it changes the whole dynamic of the sequence. Well, you rarely see that.
I'm not sure that's what he was supposed to do. I don't know. Maybe there. You could tell. I thought something was up with Flowers, excuse me, gave him the old wishbone and then signaled something else. So I think the intent was to put a pickoff on at second.
Got Edwin's attention.
Yeah, the biggest mistake you can make as a pitcher here is getting consumed with the idea, I'm going to make it hard for this guy to get a bunt down. And then you end up falling behind him 2-0, 3-0, and you're just walking him. Pitchers are taught in this situation, throw a strike. He's giving you an out, go ahead and take it. There's already one out in the inning. Especially at this stage of the ball game. Still just the fifth inning. Jabbed at it.
Gary Jones down at third. Squaring early, strike two. Gavin Floyd coming back from Tommy John surgery tonight, filling in for Irvin Santana with the Braves. 7 innings, 1 run. We're tied at 1 with the Cardinals in the 8th. Bunted foul. That's a strikeout. 2 down in the inning. Atlanta trying to snap a 7-game skid.
They just stopped scoring. Pitching hasn't been quite as good either as it was earlier on, but the bats have really gone quiet for Freddie Gonzalez. Group down there in Atlanta. We talked about it last night, again here tonight. cold, wind blowing in. Runs tough to come by, so you have to execute, make all the plays, make good decisions on the bases, make good decisions in the field, and you got to get your bunts down.
By the way, in that game, Andrelton Simmons hitting 9th behind the pitcher's second straight night. Freddie Gonzalez has batted the pitcher 8th. Check out the run expectancy in this spot. Bonifacio lifts it foul for strike 1. The best chance the Cubs have had here tonight against Noesi. 2 on. A quick pitch on the slide step, and it's 1-1.
And Ramirez had moved in behind Junior Lake out there at second base, so the entire shortstop hole was wide open for Bonifacio. Didn't get a pitch. Outfielders essentially daring Bonifacio to hit it over their heads. They are really shallow. I get that ball down a little bit. Tough for him to get on top of that high fastball. Yeah, look how shallow they are, in particular Diaz out there in center. Even on the pull side, normally on the pull side, you figure if a guy gets the head out in front of one, he's going to hit it with more authority. You might play a step or two deeper, but they want to have a shot at Lake on a line drive base hit to the outfield. And the wind blowing in, they feel pretty confident that Bonifacio is not going to hit it over their heads.
A 1-2 on the way is outside. Valbuena on deck. Lake, the tying run, he's at second. Go ahead run is at first. Chris Coughlin.
Putnam's ready to go. He's just standing down in the bullpen now waiting.
Lined and off the glove of Beckham, and the Cubs will tie it up as Lake comes around. Coughlin to third. And in this game of inches, the Cubs are able to knot it up at 1 apiece.
Sounded like it was down off the end of the bat a little bit, hit on a line, but not hit that sharply. And it looked like Beckham was going to be able to make a play on this ball, but he does not, and the Cubs tie the ball game. Yeah, way down off the end of the bat. Probably should have been caught, but it should go as an RBI single for Bonifacio.
And it is an RBI single for Bonifacio. Valbuena with runners at the corners. Strike inside corner. Oh, 2. There goes Bonifacio, and he'll take second without a throw. Already number 11 on the year for Emilio. Meanwhile, 1-2 on Valbuena. Here it is. Ball strike 3 at the knees to end the inning. Cubs tie it, however. It's 1-1 at the end of 5. On 3-1 in 12 last night. Here's your Honda game summary. Start something special with great leases and low financing on a new Honda. Visit shophonda.com. Visit your local Honda dealer. Father John Rudnick and his brother Joey are celebrating a birthday here at the game tonight. Father John turns 79 later this month. Here's De Aza. Third time through the order for Jackson. Beckham and Abreu to follow. Way high. Got away from Edwin.
Well, we showed you that inning where Castillo took all the punishment on those balls in the dirt. So you would think, well, Jackson's wild. He must be walking people. He hasn't walked anybody. He's been really efficient, too. That was just a 60-second pitch.
That's a strike. The count even at 1 apiece.
Back into the count with a curveball. Again, De Aza, the only left-handed bat in the lineup tonight for the White Sox. So far, so good for Edwin. 5 innings, 4 hits, 1 run. He's punched out 4.
Well, if he could get in a nice stretch here with what the other starters you mentioned earlier have done. That's what allows you as a team to get on a roll, is incredibly consistent starting pitching.
Yeah, it's difficult to, you get hot as a club and you score runs in bunches, and you can do that for 3 or 4 games, but very difficult to sustain that over the long haul. And frankly, with the makeup of this club, you just don't expect that from the Cubs. If they're going to overachieve this year, it's going to be because of the starting pitching.
Two balls, 2 strikes. So Castillo wants a slider down. That's exactly where he got it. And De Aza mad at himself. Jackson picks up his 5th strikeout.
The Sox have not been particularly patient tonight. We haven't had a lot of sliders out of the strike zone. And if you're Jackson and Castillo, you recognize that. Take advantage of it.
Beckham 2 for 2 with their only run. Knocked in by Ramirez in the 4th. And a strike. It's like they're going to extras in Philly. Blue Jays and Phillies tied at 5. Braves now with a 2-1 lead. They go to the 9th against the Cardinals. Beckham is having a night. He's 3 out of 3. Step aside and see what's coming up on WGN. Wrigley Field, White Sox and Cubs on another chilly night, although not nearly as cold as last night. 5 degrees warmer officially at game time, but the wind not blowing nearly as hard off the lake. One on, one out, and Abreu the batter.
A little bit of we've seen of Abreu. Looks like he's got good power the other way. You watch the highlights from his home runs in April. He's shown the ability to drive the ball out of the ballpark to straightaway center field into right field. You have to make sure you do your work inside on him.
Topper foul.
Quick bat. 6-year, $68 million contract he signed with the Sox. $27 years of age now, so you run that out. He's 33 at the end of that deal. Given the salary structure in Major League Baseball now, even if he's just solid at first base and fairly productive, it's going to be a good contract for the Sox. Jackson picked Beckham off back in the first inning.
Gets by and allows Beckham to move to second. It's a wild one on Edwin Jackson.
Pulls that fastball all the way across the other side. Castillo got leather on it. Wellington usually pretty adept at moving his feet on a ball like that. A little tougher on that fastball. You have to reach across your body. You can get him to chase. Guy gets paid to drive in runs. That's what he did the entire month of April. You've got a man in scoring position. He's going to want to swing that bat.
Boy, did he ever.
Yeah, he's not feeling for the ball. I mean, he's letting it go. A good looking swing. I would take a shot with that slider out of the zone if I were Edwin.
Two.
Nice.
Yep. Good call, partner. Strikeout number 6 for Jackson.
Well, the numbers this kid has put up has gotten everybody's attention. In RBI situations, he's going to get fewer and fewer pitches to hit. And if he shows a willingness to expand his strike zone, even less so. Really nice job. Look at the pitch sequence there. Everything down at or below the knees.
Why do I feel like if we walk into the clubhouse after the game, Wellington Castillo will have an ice bag over his entire body.
Yeah, or he'll just be immersed in a tub of ice up to his chin.
You wonder why there's such a lack of depth at the catcher position in most organizations. I think we're finding out why. Tonight, not everybody wants to do it. It's a hard job.
Yeah, the want, that's the first part of it, and then the skill set, right? To be able to be, solid defensively and bring something to the table offensively. And that's why the Cubs are very excited about Wellington Castillo, because he's developing into a very good two-way player.
Well, if you feel like, and I think the Cubs do, that they're set at that position for a while, that's huge. Oh, 2 on Viciedo. Close and a tough one for a guy like Viciedo to not go after. He took it for ball 1.
Yeah, it's either a really good eye or he just got lucky, got fooled and got lucky. Again, got him set up where you feel like you could jam him with the fastball. That's what they tried last time and ended up hitting him in the arm with a pitch. Ooh, yes.
Called strike 3, and that'll end the inning. All the outs in the inning were strikeouts as they strand Beckham at second. We're still tied at 1-1. stay in the city, but officially a road trip. The Cubs will have the Grays on tomorrow night. WGN Sports on the U. Hawk and Stoney will have the call. And JD and I will be back with you. 30-minute leadoff man at 6:30 for Game 4 of the Crosstown Cup. And then it's off to Atlanta for the weekend. Braves did win tonight. 2-1 over the Cardinals, so they have ended their 7-game skid. Ford, go further in any one of Ford's many fuel-efficient vehicles. Check out America's freshest lineup at your local Ford store or localfordstores.com. Zach Putnam, brief stint with the Cubs last year, and he's on, and at first pitch strike. Former teammate Anthony Rizzo.
Ground ball pitcher, sinker slider, split finger.
That was a splitter to start the sequence, in fact.
Zach, one of the many arms that passed through the north side last year.
And to back up the plate on a hop, and he gets Rizzo 4-3 for the out.
It's been the case with the White Sox this year. There's a lot of different pitchers.
Well, if you told Robin Ventura before the game, Noessi would go 5 innings, give up 1 run, he'd definitely take it.
Oh, yeah. Big pat on the back, send him up to the clubhouse, throw a little ice on the shoulder. Feeling good about things. Can't win, so that long winless streak for Noessi as a starting pitcher is still there, but he can feel good about his outing here tonight.
The Pirates beat the Giants 2-1 tonight. Starling Marte hit a triple to deep right. He was trying to stretch it and score on the play. He was called out. They reviewed it. It was overturned. He was given a triple. An error was charged on the play, and the Pirates won in game-ending fashion.
Game-ending review, huh?
Yeah.
That's interesting. Snapping a 6-game winning streak for the Giants. So the players all stand around and wait for the review and then jump up and down?
I guess so.
The way they do.
Tim Hudson was on the mound when the game ended. He went 8 2/3, a complete game loss for the Giants. 4-2 with a 1.99 ERA. Big swing and a miss. And a full count.
Starling guessing fastball. He got the splitter.
Putnam, a product of the University of Michigan, and his 3-2 is bounced foul. Season ended in mid-June last year with the Cubs due to a sore elbow. And I recall no beard and longer hair.
That just rings a bell, yeah.
What I remember about Brian Schlitter in 2010, short hair and no beard. You're not with the Yankees, and I don't know if there are any other teams that have strict grooming policies. Most big league players have facial hair these days. Feels like, at least. Swing and a miss, strike 3.
Hoping for a fastball, and I'm not inclined to give in.
What do you think?
Yeah, the Reds used to have a real strict policy, but
yes,
not so much anymore.
You think more than half the big leaguers have some sort of facial hair?
I think we got enough guys in the ballpark here today. We could do just a random sample and extrapolate.
Some of our crew members do too. Yeah, I don't know. It's Frank D'Amato. I don't know if.
Well, he's got a little something going on.
Yeah,
a little chin.
It doesn't have to be a full beard. I'm just saying, mustache,
yeah.
goatee.
Well, that's the thing about baseball. Right? There's a very much a herd mentality in baseball.
Oh, 2.
When I first joined the Astros, that everybody was driving a Ford Bronco. It's a Texas thing.
Yeah.
So I got a Ford Bronco. Don't do it, Welly.
1-2.
No fun when you've punched out in your first 2 at bats and now you find yourself down on the count again. Hitters tend to get a little anxious, get a little jumpy. You got to make sure you get a pitch.
And he strikes out for the 3rd time. Putnam with a 1-2-3 6th. It's 1-1. Out our WGN Cubs fan cam.
I still dream of the lake of peacefulness, the warm summer breeze, 'cause my life was so much simpler then. Street corners and tasty freeze. Take me back to Chicago, 'cause hustling's not my style. LA was just a bit too hard.
It's right off vinyl out of JD's collection. Take Me Back to Chicago by Chicago. WGN Cubs fan cam. Hashtag WGN Cubs if you'd like to take a selfie. One and 0 on Alexei Ramirez. We're in the 7th and we're tied at 1. Toronto got a run in the top of the 10th. They've gone to the bottom of that inning, leading Philadelphia 6-5. Sac fly by Juan Francisco. Reds are at Fenway, and they're tied at 3 with the Red Sox in the last of the 9th.
Red Sox a couple of games below 500. That tightly bunched AL East, where a game and a half separates all 5 clubs.
Ground ball to the shortstop. Castro gets rid of it quickly, and chest high four-seamer over to Rizzo for the out.
You know, we're still a ways away, obviously, from the trading deadline at the end of July. But if things continue the way they are, there are going to be a lot of teams probably in buy mode. A lot of teams within striking distance of a playoff spot because of the parity in baseball.
Yep. Out toward left center for Sierra. The night he's had, he wasn't even supposed to be in the lineup. He's 3 for 3. Two singles and a double for Sierra from the 6th spot.
Yeah, it reminds me of the game in Milwaukee when Gene Segura got whacked in the head by Ryan Braun. And Bianchi came in, had a big game against the Cubs. Seems to happen often. Not expected to be in the lineup. Gets late notice and responds.
So a threat here by the White Sox. Runner at second, 1 out. Here's the pitch. Outside, ball 1. Cubs pen is quiet.
Inning game last night, so you think, man, the pen must be wore out. But remember, Jeff Samardzija pitched 9 of those 12 innings. Ramirez, Schlitter, Wright, and Grimm all worked, but nobody really taxed in the pen. Hector Rondon had the night off. He'd worked the 3 previous days. I have to assume he's back in play tonight.
Strike called. It's 1-1. Don't know if we'll see his backup Adrian Nieto this week, but Nieto, first catcher to go from A ball to the major leagues since 2007. White Sox grabbed him in the Rule 5.
Well, you were talking earlier about most clubs not having a lot of depth at the catcher position, so they obviously like this kid, and as a Rule 5 draft pick, they have to keep him in the big leagues or risk losing him.
One and two.
Put away pitch for Edwin Jackson tonight has been the slider. Down. Very effective, getting a lot of swings and misses. Been able to work his way back. He's been working ahead most of the night, but in those counts where he's fallen behind 2-0, 3-1, he's been able to work his way back. Hasn't walked anybody yet. That one got away from him, trying to go down and away with a heater and threw it up over the plate. But up high enough where he wasn't going to get hurt.
Flowers, drafted by the Braves in 05, 33rd round, and sent in a trade to the Sox December of 08. There's James Russell. Major League debut for Flowers in 09. Parts of 6 seasons here with the White Sox.
Lost it on that delivery. usually command that betrays a pitcher. You know, as the pitch count starts to mount, not so much velocity. As your legs get tired, you just kind of lose control of your base and you start to misfire. That's when you make mistakes over the heart of the plate and bad things happen.
Swing and a miss. Strike 3. 2 gone.
Boy, when he's needed it, he's been able to go back and find that slider. 8th punch out for Jackson. Now you see it, now you don't.
Season high in strikeouts. It had been 5 previously, but 8 so far in this one. Had walked at least 2 in all of his 6 starts before tonight, but not a 1 to this point. Now Semien, the batter, mentioned the game-winning hit last night in the 12th. His 4th go-ahead hit in the 7th or later, including 3 home runs. So he's been money late for the White Sox here early on, even though he's carried a very low batting average. And now Adam Dunn is on deck in the pitcher's spot. Slider strike.
That's the reason why James Russell was up, anticipating this possible matchup with big Adam Dunn.
Pitcher's strike. It's 0-2.
This is where all your conditioning and running pays off as you get into later stages of the ball game, to stay on that back leg and drive the ball. That was a real good pitch down and away. As you look at the numbers, but Semien has been really good in these situations, but he's in a 2-strike hole right now.
Jackson's got something left in the tank. 94.
It's so important to finish that pitch. You don't want to let that one leak back over the plate. And that was just a show me fastball. I think he's going to try to get him with that slider. They're going to take a shot in. No, they're going back away.
The 1-2 pitch, swing and a miss. Strike 3. Jackson pumped up, and it is time now for the 7th inning stretch. Brought to you by Budweiser.
Taking out to the ball game, breast cancer survivors Janice, Elby, and Lauren.
All right, Cubs fans, let me hear ya. A 1, a 2, a 3. Take me out to the ball game. Take me out with the crowd. Buy me some peanuts and Cracker Jacks. I don't care if I never get back, 'cause it's room, room,
The Cubs bat here in the bottom of the 7th. And Nate Scherholz will start it. 0-4-6 in the series. Zach Putnam went 1-2-3 in the 6th as he continues on. So no doubt his final inning, no matter what, because his spot due to lead off the 8th. And he starts Nate with a strike.
Fairly clear that the split finger fastball is the go-to pitch for Putnam.
Oh, 0-2. Pitch. But on the ground, backhanded play by Abreu. He'll get it to Putnam in time. And if you don't quite remember Zach Putnam with the Cubs, well, he only made 5 appearances, but yeah, he had a little bit of a different look.
Yeah, a little more lettuce. Working last year.
Junior Lake with 1 out.
Russell continues to warm. He's been joined by Neil Ramirez in the Cubs bullpen. The Say Hey Kid, Willie Mays, celebrating a birthday today. 83.
83.
His philosophy was pretty simple. They throw it, I hit it. They hit it, I catch it. Went deep in this ballpark more than anyone else, 54 times.
He shares a birthday with my sister Amy. I wish her a very happy birthday.
You call her the Say Hey Kid?
I will now. Lefties tomorrow night over at U.S. Cellular Field. Travis Wood and John Danks. Three and one.
Might be tempted to sell out on a fastball here for your Junior Lake, but Putnam has gone about his business here. I wouldn't be surprised to see another split finger pitch. Yeah, that's pretty much his MO. Gets you in a fastball count, throws that splitter. He's got a good one. As a hitter, the value of just paying attention, watching the at-bats of other same-sided hitters, you know, guys with a similar approach. You saw him throw the 3-1 split finger pitch to Castro.
It's up a full count offering and a ground ball that's backhanded neatly by Ramirez, and the throw and the stretch, and they got him.
Yeah,
a nice play by Ramirez.
And the positioning, the whole key to that. And I didn't see Ramirez prior to the pitch, but they came with another split finger pitch, so he probably cheated a step towards the pull side when he saw that it was going to be a splitter. And really set that play up for Ramirez. If he's got to take a couple extra steps to get to that ball, he's not going to get Junior Lake. He was shaded towards the hole.
Like maybe a tiny bobble by Abreu, but will snag it. Coughlin with 2 outs, nobody on.
Junior's got to be careful too. We've seen him do that a number of times now, where he'll lunge, take that long leap towards the base, and boy, you catch the bag, catch the backside of that bag, you can really do some damage to the ankle. And he's selling out. He wants that hit, that long stride. And boy, if you hit the bag the wrong way.
Much happening offensively once again tonight. Cubs with only 4 hits. Noesi and Putnam bounced foul. But Edwin Jackson has been terrific. Ryan Kalish on deck in Jackson's spot. Second time Jackson has gone 7 innings this season. And it's full 3-2.
In Coughlin's Rookie of the Year season 2009, he batted .321 out of .390 on base percentage. So pretty good idea of the strike zone.
His former team has it cooking. Marlins shut out the Mets 3-0 tonight. Abreu to the bag unassisted. Putnam 2 scoreless frames. 1-1 to the 8th. On live streaming sports service celebrating 12 years. Join the millions of subscribers. Watch every out-of-market game live in true HD on over 400 devices. Visit Cubs.com for details. Well, great to have you here, sir, from California. So Jackson got loose, and when Adam Dunn was announced as the pinch hitter, Ricky Renteria able to come out and make the change as James Russell will come in. We'll be back in the 8th. 1-1 tie. What a job by Edwin Jackson tonight. 7 innings, 1 run. He struck out 9. And here is James Russell against Adam Dunn, who was scratched from the White Sox starting lineup with a bruised right calf, but able to pinch hit.
And then normally you think, well, he's a big slugger. You would save him for an RBI opportunity, but he is so patient, and the ability to work a walk makes him a good guy to lead off an inning as well.
Outside ball 1.
Best start of the year for Edwin. 9 strikeouts, no walks, 1 run allowed. A run of good starting pitching that we talked about, showed you in the open. Last 4 starts good, and Jackson adds to it tonight.
Two balls and a strike. And now 3-1 done. It's not going to give in. By the way, what Rick Renteria did, you used to see a lot. And they've essentially banned it. The only way you can have a pitcher come out, warm up for the next inning, and the manager can go get him before he faces that batter, is done swings and misses, is if they announce a pinch hitter.
Right.
And it used to be that you could do it whenever you wanted, which got a little tedious. You could just warm the guy up, and then whatever, you know, right before the inning started, you could make the change. Can't do that anymore. Off the end of the bat and on the ground to Castro, the only guy over there on the left side of the infield.
A nice comeback by Russell after falling behind Dunn. You don't want to walk him. I knew he had to throw him a strike. It's pretty rare to see Dunn hit the ball on the ground in that direction.
De Aza is 0 for 3 and a strike on the outside edge. Ground ball up the middle, surrounded by Bonifacio. The throw on a hop is in time.
See if this one brings Robin Ventura out of the dugout.
It will.
So just went back to the bag and dropped anchor. Said, I'm not going anywhere until my manager comes out and we have a little chat. Let's take a look.
I thought they had him, but let's see. Out.
Yep.
If the foot's still on the bag, and I assume it is, let's look at where Rizzo's foot is. Throw beats him.
Play, yeah.
Well, the call was out.
Yeah, he's out.
And I think he was out.
Unless they have a look that shows Anthony pulling that foot away from the bag a little bit. Yeah, and they're not going to challenge.
Again, if you go back to the 5th, the challenge seemed to be the stolen base by Lake. Robin decided not to challenge it. We had a replay that seemed to show that they did, in fact, throw him out, and Lake would come around to score the tying run. So that looming pretty large here. And that's it for Russell, who did his job, and that'll bring on Neil Ramirez with 2 outs in the 8th. and will hit in the 9th spot, meaning he'll lead off the bottom of this inning. Neil Ramirez in the pitcher spot will go into 8th in the Cubs order.
Looking at the entire body of work for Neil Ramirez as a major league pitcher, 4 games, all with the Cubs this year. And really good stuff. He comes in guns a-blazing. He's been used in high leverage situations despite his inexperience, and he has responded quite nicely. Mid-90s fastball and a slider, and then last night he started snapping off some curveballs.
Nice job by James Russell, who has not gotten a ton of work lately. 2 outs, nobody on, and Beckham 3 for 3 with a run. Curveball strike. Prior to last night, Ramirez had not thrown a curve since he came up from the minors, but last night that pitch was really good.
Curveball a little bit tougher to command than the slider, so maybe there's just a little bit of trepidation about breaking that pitch out for fear of making a mistake. And a lot of it too, as a young pitcher, you just don't feel comfortable imposing your will. You know, whatever the catcher puts down, you throw, and maybe at some point you say, hey, you know, I got this too.
Well, he was intriguing before I saw those curveballs last night, but that
it's a classic power pitcher's game. You know, you can ride the fastball up in the zone, then come with that straight down 12-6 on your clock curveball.
Lifted in the air out into deep left. Kalish back, and it's gone. Gordon Beckham is 4 for 4, and he just gave the White Sox the lead.
Safe to say Gordon Beckham is locked in here tonight. Ricky Renteria playing the percentage, goes to the power right-hander for Beckham, who obviously is seeing it well and swinging it well. And this appears to be the slider, and it just doesn't slide. A cement mixer just spun, didn't take the break, so to speak. And the White Sox have a 1-run lead.
And that's interesting too, JD, because I was just going to add that, you know, a lot of relievers who have both pitches in a short stint, they'll pick one. You know, they'll throw either the curve or the slider and not both, and kind of keep the repertoire simple. That ball lined, and it's fair by Abreu. And he'll have an easy double. That might have been a slider too. Beckham, by the way, with his first homer of the season.
Yeah, that was the curveball.
The curve.
So the slider ended in the seats, and the curveball got whacked down into the corner for a double by Abreu. So in the 12th inning last night, when the White Sox scored the winning runs, it started after 2 outs. There was a couple of strikeouts of Dunn and Viciedo. And then they went single walk, double, hit batter, walk. Put 2 runs on the board here. 2 quick outs, home run, double. Sox bullpen has been much better of late, but they've had some issues of their own this year, and you'd love to just stop the bleeding right here.
Viciedo fouls out of play behind the White Sox dugout. 2-1 now in the 8th. Beckham also tying a career high with his 4 hits.
That's one of the things you watch for a young pitcher. Obviously the stuff matters, the ability to locate, and then how do you respond when you get hit around a little bit.
1-2.
How do you respond? I'm talking about, do you let solid contact scare you out of the strike zone? You just start reaching back, trying to throw it 100 miles an hour, or you continue to try to make pitches? Yeah, he did. No, he didn't.
Ramirez set at the belt. Here's his 2-2, strike 3 called on the slider to end the inning. Fortunately for him, that slider was deposited into the bleachers, and the White Sox lead 2-1. Night for his team over on the south side. John Danks, that is the outfielder Jordan Danks, and that is De Aza going to left. Viciedo is out of the game. Scott Downs pitched last night. Here he is once again tonight facing Kalish, his first trip to the plate. 2-1 White Sox.
Yeah, Downs, big breaking ball, not a hard thrower, fastball in the upper 80s. Cubs need some traffic. Need to get a strike. Zach Putnam in position to be the winning pitcher now. 2 3 up, 3 down innings for Putnam. He was really good.
Daniel Webb. He got the win last night. Josh Tomlin with his first victory in a couple of years. Cleveland beat Minnesota 4-2. Missed most of 2013 after Tommy John surgery.
Clayton Kershaw was 7 scoreless tonight in his return, and the Dodgers beat the Nationals 8-3. Hanley Ramirez hit his 4th. Drew Butera, number 2, is filling in for A.J. Ellis.
Kershaw missed 32 games on the DL for the first time. Sprained back. So that was his first outing since he pitched in Australia on March 22nd. It's full to Kalish.
Behind that one, but he doesn't want to get fooled by the breaking pitch. Downs 38 years old. Been around a good long while now.
Swing and a miss to get Kalish. Cubs spark plug at the top of the order, trying to get something started here with 1 out in the 8th, trailing by a run. The 0-1. A 1-1.
If my record keeping is accurate,
I like your start.
19 strikeouts and 1 walk in this ball game.
Okay. It's easy to check.
Paul Emmel back there.
You're right.
He's had a fairly generous strike zone. Pitching's been really good. So combine those 2 factors. And understandable.
Jays did beat the Phillies 6-5 and 10. They did blow a 5-0 lead earlier. Cody Ashe with a game-tying grand slam in the 6th inning. They'll head up to Toronto tomorrow night. The game tonight was in Philadelphia. How about Cliff Lee and Mark Burley tomorrow night? That game will probably take about an hour 25 if they're both pitching well. Facio could not get the curve. 2 away.
A lot of red going on the score sheet tonight. Swing and a miss. Downs living on the edge, and then the backdoor breaker.
Mike Alt will pinch hit for Valbuena.
Frustrating times for the Cubs. You know, they got on a little roll there, won 3 in a row. Starting to feel good about things, and Haven't been able to do much since.
Stands tall in the right-handed batter's box. Takes that pitch low.
We were talking to Ricky Renteria on the road trip, and he said, that's part of his job is to kind of keep morale. They've got a lot of young guys, and they kind of go up and down, with the wins and losses. And so much about baseball is just maintaining that even keel. So, he's the one sometimes that has to go in and kind of lift the spirits of the guys in the club. As a lot of times players are veteran players and guys have been around a while, they can shake it off quickly. And it's the manager who's in his office fuming and stomping. But, Renteria, he sees his role as being the guy that's trying to lift everybody up. Hey, think about today's game a little bit. Reflect on it. Tough loss. Here's what I could have done better. But, hey, turn the page. Turn the music on. Tomorrow's another day.
Yeah, another example of that, Hector Rondon giving up that big hit to Molina the other night. Hard on himself, as you can imagine. 3-0 on Alt. Here's a pitch. It's a strike. And he walked him. That'll bring up Rizzo. Well, you can sit here and say it's the 8th inning, you got another inning to go, you're down a run, but you got your best hitter at the plate. He may not get another chance, so this is a pretty important sequence here.
And well documented what he's done against left-handed pitching this year. 7th inning on or later, he's done quite well. Downs the only lefty in the White Sox bullpen. There's the breakdown for Rizzo. Wearing out lefties so far this year. Well above major league average in terms of on base plus slugging from both sides against both right and lefties. Webb continues to heat up.
Two and one. Rizzo will take a long walk here.
Yeah, and he's just, he's become, a much smarter hitter, situationally. 2 balls, no strikes. He's willing to cheat there, try to do something big, knowing that he has a couple of strikes to play with.
Two and two.
Staying down and away, sharp breaking ball.
Yeah, tough call.
Tough call, and again, not a pitch you want to offer at. Maybe with 2 strikes.
There it is. It's full.
Choking up on the bat a little bit.
We've talked before about guys looking hitterish, and when Anthony's gotten to 2 strikes, he still looks comfortable. As you can tell, he's got a lot of confidence right now.
Yeah, well, he's walked more than he has struck out. Can't say about many guys in the game, especially guys with power guys.
Alt runs, ground ball right to Beckham in shallow right. We will head to the ninth here at Wrigley Field. 2-1 White Sox. Budweiser, great times are waiting. Grab some buds. Ford, manufacturers of America's best-selling brand. Check out our best-selling lineup at your local Ford store or online at localfordstores.com. And by Xfinity, your home for the most live sports. Beautiful shots of this great city. White Sox leading the Cubs 2-1. We'll head 9 miles south tomorrow evening. Alt stays in and plays a hot corner after batting for Valbuena.
Pedro Strop on for the 15th time. 0-2 of the 292. He's not been particularly busy of late. 10-day span between the 19th and 29th of April. He worked 6 times. He's only worked once since then.
That pitch at 79 about as slow as you'll see any pitches from Strop. .82 on that one, but low. 2-1. Hate to look ahead too much, but if you're curious what the Cubs have in the bottom of the ninth, they have Castro, Castillo, and Sherholtz due up. And it'll probably be against Matt Lindstrom. Leadoff walk to Ramirez.
See how Robin Ventura chooses to play it here. He's got a 1-run lead. He's got Sierra up there, who's having a big night. 2 singles and a double.
Too much seems to bother Robin Ventura. Easy going. Got a multi-year extension in January. He had previously turned down an extension offer prior to last year. Long look by Strop. Now he's ready. And it's inside. If you had to kind of write out a 2-sentence description of what in general a manager is paid to do these days versus, say, when you played, when you came up 25-30 years ago, has it changed a lot?
I don't think so. I think probably the biggest change is all the the analytics, and to what degree you're going to implement that, and prepare your game plan, so to speak.
We've seen a few more either pitching coaches or ex-pitchers get opportunities. Brian Price, Bud Black, John Farrell.
Still more catchers than anything in terms of managers.
And we've seen some guys who have been retired for 3 to 5 years maybe, who've not had much, if any, previous managerial experience, including Ventura, Matheny, Ausmus.
Yeah, well, a lot of younger, smart guys. Media savvy for the most part.
The 2-0 from Strop is in there, and it's 2-1.
And I think because of all the all the data and all the number crunching that goes on in the game now, you have to be pliable. You have to be willing to work with a front office. I mean, it doesn't make sense if there's somebody over in the office crunching all these numbers. They provide all this data for you, and you throw it out the window and say, I don't buy it.
Holt doesn't have a play. He bobbled it, but he did not have a play. That'll be an infield hit for Sierra, and he's 4 for 4. Beckham and Sierra, wow, they've combined to go 8 for 8.
And whereas Beckham's 4th hit was in the seats for a home run, Sierra with a bit of good fortune as he bangs one right off of home plate. And maybe even a bit of good luck for the Cubs here that Olt bobbled that ball a little bit, because if he catches it cleanly, he might hurry a throw and make an errant throw on a play where he really didn't have.
Here comes Rick Renteria quickly as he's jogging out there to talk with the entire Cubs infield along with the battery.
Well, down and run in the 9th, so Ricky Renteria wants to talk about bunt defense with his guys and going to lay out how aggressive he wants them to be if indeed the White Sox do bunt here.
Interesting, Flowers going right over to the manager and the hitting coach.
What do you want me to do? Okay, you want me to bunt? You sure? What if they charge? Can I go ahead and pull it back? They got the wheel play on.
Pitch to Flowers, a swing and a miss.
Might have been a situation where they said, well, they might think you're bunting, they might throw you a fastball, so go ahead and take a whack at one, and if you don't do anything with it, then we'll put the bunt on. Or they may just have them hit down near the bottom of the order. Sacrifice not as big a part of the game in the American League. Well, they're in a National League park.
So last night, a lot of averages were dented by the lack of hits and extra innings, more at bats. Tonight, small sample size in terms of the overall number of at bats for Sierra and Beckham, but Sierra's raised his average 97 points. Beckham 72 points with the respective 4-for-4s.
Well, if you were a day trader and you bought some Sierra and some Beckham earlier today, you'd be feeling pretty good about things. Sierra was hitting what 50 something with Toronto.
See Konerko here in the ninth at some point. 1-2 line off the glove of Olton into left. Ramirez is in. Sierra safe at third. Tyler Flowers with an RBI double. And they might just be getting started. Second and third, nobody out.
Flowers throughout that at bat, no inclination to bunt. And why would he, the way he's been swinging it this year?
Cubs will have to bring their infielders in. Already trailing by 2. Semien. Strike call.
A lot of folks in the blue sweatshirts are heading towards the turnstiles all of a sudden.
The White Sox beat the Cubs 3-1 last night. They have the same lead here this evening. That was in 12. We're still in regulation. And it's 0-2. Not a uniform number aficionado, but when I see number 5 in a White Sox uniform, I think of Ray Durham. Did he have some great years?
Yeah, real good player.
One and two. Danks on deck. And Semien strikes out. That's number 1. Infield will still stay in against the left-handed hitting Jordan Danks.
Pitch that Edwin Jackson had so much success with tonight. Good slider down and away against the right-handed hitters. Figured that Strop would be strong tonight. But understand that he might not be particularly sharp. Having not worked that much in recent days. Fairly typical of the bullpen. You know, you get a guy when he's hot and he's throwing it well, you ride him for a while, and then you got to back off a little bit, make sure you don't put too much stress on him, especially early in the season. It's a challenge for a manager. How they can use that bullpen.
Fly ball pretty well hit out in the deep center. Lake still going back. That ball will be off the wall. They're going to get a couple of runs. Danks will stop at second with a double. The wind has shifted, and it actually pushed that ball a little bit toward the 368 marker out there in left center. And it's now 5-1. Well, you've always got to be checking the flags here at Wrigley Field. I didn't even notice before he hit it that the wind had shifted. Three-run ninth. Lots of insurance here for the White Sox.
And it looks like Lindstrom's down and Webb is back up.
Steele will head out. And Strop really laboring here in the ninth. And I think that's it now. The Cubs will have Ed Halber come out. And I think Welly actually asked the manager to come on out. What's going on here?
Well, the reason why, perhaps the reason why we haven't seen much of Strop lately, maybe there's a little something barking a little bit, and probably tried to stay away from him, and he probably said, "No, I'm good to go." And then so the conversation here, and you're going to get him out of there.
So Pedro Strop will exit, and Villanueva will have as much time as he needs. Villanueva. Bonifacio goes to third, and Alt is out of the game.
Carlos moving back into the bullpen after Jake Arrieta rejoined the rotation. Worked a couple times out of the pen early before his first start. So he's had a lot of decisions. He's been in 7 ball games. He's 1-5 already. An inflated ERA, so he's going to have to chip away at that. An inning or two at a time. A guy who can give you multiple innings out of the bullpen.
The Danks double snaps in 0 for his last 18. Have you got the color coding down yet for the replay guys?
Well, in spring training I did, and then
I would think green means
go.
Right?
Yeah, there's pace of play, and they're trying to get players to kind of buy in. Now in this instance, Carlos, he had been up in the bullpen, but because of the injury, he gets all he needs. He seems a little exasperated down there. The go guy. I'm flashing the green, and they're still not playing.
It's Nick Pinto. Holding up the green tile. And Villanueva says he's ready. Here comes De Aza. Danks a runner at second, 3 runs in. Strop had to leave due to some sort of injury.
White Sox had 6 hits through the first 7 innings. They've got 5 hits in the last 8 batters they've sent to the plate. And among those hits, 3 doubles and a home run.
Fouled out of play.
It's a fun game for the players to play in because it does create a certain amount of energy in the city between the south side and the north side. But in terms of any, real intense rivalry, I think it's more of a fan thing than a player thing.
Yeah, I would agree, and I like it. We've got 2 major league teams in our city, and it's nice for us just to see the White Sox a few times a year after spring training. Barney to Rizzo to get De Aza. Danks at third, 2 outs. And yeah, I mean the early season scheduling this year, Monday through Thursday. Some people have been critical of that. It's just kind of the way the schedule fell this time around.
Yeah, and we played late May last year. These 2 clubs got together.
Yeah, this is the earliest meeting this particular week in the history of this interleague series. Beckham 4 for 4 with a go-ahead homer, and he swings and misses on a breaking ball.
Blocked by Castillo. Neil Ramirez last inning, and he got a slider and hit it into the seats. Neil Ramirez, who had been unscathed, all of a sudden he's scathed now. Hey, nice play by the fan out there.
Infield pop-up. Rizzo in foul ground makes a catch, and that'll end the inning. The White Sox add to their lead. It's 5-1 as we go to the bottom of the ninth. You see they got one in the eighth and added 3 more in the top of this ninth inning. We're now in the bottom half, and it's Daniel Webb who got the win last night, his 3rd so far. Not a safe spot for him with a 4-run lead.
Yeah, pretty good run on his fastball in the mid-90s, a slider and a changeup. Nine appearances with the Sox last year.
And low, ball 1 to Starlin Castro.
Last year pitched at high A, double A, triple A, and the big leagues.
Webb from Paducah, Kentucky. Three and 0.
Steve Finley, I believe, was from Paducah, Kentucky.
Sounds right.
Very good major leaguer for a very long time.
Final tip, strike 2. The confluence of what 2 rivers would be
Paducah?
in Paducah? Yeah.
The Ohio,
correct,
and the Missouri.
No. Tennessee River.
Tennessee River. Not that familiar with the Tennessee River.
According to the Paducah website, it's also often called the Four Rivers area due to the proximity of the Ohio, Tennessee, Cumberland, and Mississippi rivers. So now you know. Three-two breaking ball.
Joe Cowley, former White Sox. Joe Cowley from Paducah as well. I know he's a Kentucky guy.
Born in Lexington. Bouncer to the third baseman, Semien. One out.
I don't know if it's true or not. I hope it's true. The Joe Cowley story, and I played with him in AAA for a little bit, but the Joe Cowley story that I heard was that when he first got called to the big leagues, one of his call-ups with Atlanta, I believe, and they were in New York. And instead of going right to the ballpark, he went to a friend's house and spent the night, and gets up the next morning, and she makes him breakfast, and he's going to have a little breakfast before he goes to the ballpark for the night game. And he turns on the television, and it wasn't a night game. They were playing the national anthem.
Fly ball the other way. And it's Sierra to make the catch. Okay, so then what happens?
First day in the big league.
Full panic sets in.
Yeah, scramble mode, and you show up in about the third inning and beg for mercy.
Last chance now, Nate Scherholtz. 2 outs in the bottom of the ninth. What happened to the bats? Completely stymied by this White Sox staff here the last 2 games.
Yeah, and understandable last night. I mean, it was really miserable. It was a tough night to hit. But tonight you felt like, not quite as cold, not quite as windy. A guy out there. His career record as a starting pitcher was 2-14 with a 6.26. You thought maybe you'd be able to get to Noesi a little bit.
Two strikes. Teams can sleep in their own beds tonight. White Sox will wear the home pinstripes tomorrow. The Cubs will be the road team. And the 1-2 just off the outside corner. The velocity from Webb at 95. It's 2-2.
Interesting that with a 4-run lead, 2-2, he'd go with the off-speed pitch. And risk doing that.
So 2-out walk. Scherholtz is on. Had to bail out of the way. 1 ball, no strikes.
Saw Don Cooper on the phone. White Sox know how quickly things can unravel, and they're going to get Matt Lindstrom up just in case.
Robert McDaniel Webb with a 1-1. That ball just sitting right there. Tyler Flowers tried to do what I like to do on the putting green when nobody's watching.
A little nudge.
Trying to kick it fair. Swing and the miss, and that will do it. So the White Sox sweep the 2 games here at Wrigley Field. What a night for Gordon Beckham. Game-winning homer, one of his 4 hits. We'll be back in a moment.